So for those of you out there that don't know, Shannon Watts is the leader of Moms Demand Action. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because she recently tweeted out something in response to a charter school that was teaching gun safety in the schools.
Folks here say young kids bring a lot of baggage through the schoolhouse doors, including one reality most can't escape, and that's violence in their neighborhood. So this year, some students, as young as fourth grade, are getting hands-on basic gun safety right in the classroom.
A lot of things happen with our children because they're not prepared, and we have to prepare our children. And if I'm going to prepare my child through self-defense and gun violence, what do I do? Then that's what they've agreed to do, and that's why I offer it.
Rufus Johnson is the instructor. He says not much surprises him, but he was shocked by what the students told him.
At least 80% or 70% of my kids know someone that they know that died of gun violence.
80%?
At least 80%.
The principal says she takes a holistic approach to educating her students, and that includes keeping them safe.
Grief can turn into anger, and when you're angry, you just go out without thinking and go to your friend and get a gun, or go to the streets and get a gun. And now I'm just angry, so I'm gonna do something to somebody.
Across the street from the school is a funeral home. The principal told me every day she reminds her students that there they deal in death. Inside the school building, they deal in life.
I often talk about this gun debate, and I often talk about the fact that the other side really honestly doesn't care about safety. They just hate guns. They don't like guns.
Well, I don't think a lot of moms realize that if you go to Starbucks, you could be standing next to someone with a loaded weapon. And so what we're saying is, please, Starbucks, be more like Pete's Tea and Coffee, and don't allow weapons in your stores, even though it's allowed by the states where you operate.
That's it. That's really what it boils down to. They talk about common sense gun measures. They talk about we want reasonable gun control laws. And then I also point out the fact that really all these things they're just euphemisms to inevitably get to what they want, which is banning guns. So they'll start with the soft language so that they can ease their way to what they really want. And this proves it. How in the world could you vilify the idea of teaching gun safety to children at a school? We live in a world with over 400 million guns in this country. Why wouldn't we teach kids who are more than likely going to come across a gun at some point in their lives the correct right way to handle the firearm safely? She's using it to show that it is unsafe to train kids in gun safety. But that doesn't make any sense. And the reason why it doesn't make any sense is because her overall goal is to ban firearms. Yet they will call themselves a gun safety organization. Yet when you have a school or a charter school who's actually doing that and teaching kids gun safety, she's critiquing it. She has a problem with it. I've already done a video about the fact that when it comes to responsible black gun ownership, and you know what, it may be a coincidence that this particular charter school is mainly a black charter school and the kids in this particular image are black. But anytime there's a display of responsible black gun ownership, there seems to be a problem that the other side has with it. I just don't understand it, but I do understand it. Because you can't leverage your ability to exact control over people who have the means by which to defend themselves, which is with a firearm. Once you own a firearm, and I was not always pro-gun, but when I first got into guns, the one thing that stood out to me was, man, instead of now having to rely on the fact of calling the cops whenever something happens, I'm in a position to defend myself at least until they get there, if the thing that I'm trying to protect myself against actually tries to do that thing before the cops get there. And once that light switch clicks on, you start to realize what other things in your life can you be more independent about, where you don't have to rely on somebody else. You don't have to rely on the government all the time for your safety. They need the violence in the inner cities to continue because they use it as leverage to push their gun control agenda. They'll tell you, 30, 40,000 people each year die from gun deaths in the U.S. Well, what they don't tell you is the vast majority of those are suicides, and that the vast majority, almost 80% of the ones that are homicides and murders are coming from our inner cities by way of drug and gang violence. That's not a gun issue. That's a social political issue. I say that over and over again. This is about poverty. Anytime you have a place that is impoverished, the ecosystem, the economic structure there, not the only, but the most profitable means to make any money in that situation is going to be the narco economy, i.e. they sell drugs. And what comes with drugs? The necessity to protect those drugs, the necessity to protect the areas in which you are selling those drugs. So they're going to get guns and they're going to use those guns to protect those areas and engage in violence. That is called the narco economy. It just comes with it. It's not a gun issue. It is a social political issue because the narco economy is thriving in very specific areas. Why isn't it thriving anywhere else? Yes, drug use is widespread, but as far as the narco economy is concerned, it only happens, generally speaking, in our inner cities to the degree that it does. Shannon Watts is anti-gun. So when I talk about the anti-gun lobby, I'm talking about Shannon Watts and her ilk. I'm talking about the politicians that they have paid off and have under their belt in terms of pushing gun control no matter what, even if the politician doesn't even agree with it. But they put out their own videos talking about how they're going to turn this state blue. They're going to turn this state blue. They're going to turn this state blue, turn this state blue. Why in the world is a gun control organization worried about flipping states blue? I'll tell you why. Because by and large, not even by and large, almost all gun control measures are pushed by Democrats. That's why they're so focused on turning it blue. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't be worried about turning it blue or red or orange or pink or green. They would just be talking about gun control. But they know with Democrats, they always push for more gun control because the Democrat Party, the Democrat philosophy in and of itself is based on the ideology of a bigger government, thus giving them more control. I don't understand why people don't see this. But yet, when I get up here and talk about how we can actually cut the number of accidental gun deaths in half in this country just by way of teaching firearm safety, you have someone like Shannon Watts, who literally is part of an organization called Everytown for Gun Safety, getting up and chastising a school who actually teaches children gun safety. You can't begin to make up this kind of irony. So I'm gonna say it here, I'm gonna say it again, I'm gonna say it in the future because people don't listen. These people do not care about safety. This is an agenda to ban firearms. I know it sounds conspiratorial. I know it's kind of hard to believe. I know it makes me sound like I'm crazy, but it's the truth. I've been doing this for over 15 years. I've seen what they've done over and over and over again. They've changed their strategy over and over and over and over again. They even talk about how they changed it from gun control to gun safety or gun measures or whatever softer language so that it's more palatable to the regular people.
To advocate for gun safety. They don't even call it gun control anymore. It's gun safety. And now it's gun violence prevention. You know, you keep making it more obvious that it's something we should do.
They take advantage of people's ignorance on this issue. This is what they do. But they also leverage the very violence that they say that they're against to push their agenda. They need it. They do not want kids learning gun safety because then they become more responsible. Then they lose the stats necessary to push their justification for why we need more gun control. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.